Good day, folks. This is your real estate housing market review for the Kamloops area for January of 2026. The Kamloops area is both the Kamloops area and the Kootenays area are doing a little bit better than some of the other areas in the interior of British Columbia. If you look at this, absorption, it doesn't really tell that story, but just the January absorption. But if you look at the trends throughout the year and where it's ended up, it does tell that story. So the absorption is 11.55%. So what that means is this figure of 381 means there was 381 houses on the market in January of 2026 and January 1st, and 11.55% of them sold. It's below that threshold of 12%. But not much. And when you start taking averages, we won't actually do that. But if you take a look at January last year, you had 14 and then rising absorption, 15, 14, 17, 17, 22. 22 is above the 20% hash mark, which is considered above that is considered a seller's market or a recovering market. And it stayed up there for a little while and then started to inch down. You had a 22% in October. And another indication that Kamloops is doing a little bit better is take a look at this inventory. So an inventory fluctuation is a function of increased or decreased demand. As the demand increases, the inventory goes down. The number of houses that come on the market on a monthly basis each year is actually relatively constant because very few reasons that people sell their house and make a move have to do with the market. They have to do with life changes, like being transferred or financial problems or that kind of thing. So the inventory fluctuates up and down based primarily on the demand. So if you look at this inventory, we had 695 here in June of 2025, and then 681 and 675 and 632 and 745. Basically that's a fairly balanced, straight, flat market. And then it starts to come down, 483, 374, 381. So that's a fairly dramatic decrease in inventory, which is indicating an increase in demand. So let's take a look at the sales. That should really coincide with that. So the average sales in the last 3 months, November, December, January, over here is 65. And if you go to last year, November, December, January, the average sales 75. So the sales are actually down a little bit. Maybe if you look at some of these sales, say we go from June to January, is the average is 110, and we go from June to January the year before, average is 101. So it shows that the Kamloops area seems to be slowing down a little bit in the recent months, but over the last 6 months has picked up a bit. All the markets are basically flat, and they're going to remain flat. Let's just have a quick look at prices in the Kamloops area. We got an average price over the last 3 months of $711,000, and you take the November to January is 670,000. So prices have actually inched up a little bit in the January or in the Kamloops area. I think what you're going to see in the Kamloops area is a relatively flat, possibly slightly increasing market. You might see this 11.55% inch up into that 14, 15, 16%, which is right smack dab in the middle of a balanced market. You might see that happen in 2026. I think you will see that happen in 2026 as government pressure is starting to lighten up. Canada might bring down those interest rates a little bit, given that the inflation has stabilized. But I think you're going to see a relatively flat, balanced market in the Kamloops area. That is your housing market review for January of 2026 for the Kamloops area.